So now that we've gone through just an overview of some of the new features, we're going to start looking at navigating and using Windows 7. Now, this is some of the basics, but when you get a new operating system, it's very important that you understand how to get around. And users may have questions about how to get around as well, and so it's important as technicians that we're able to help them and identify the new ways to do things in Windows 10. And we'll start at the start. No pun intended, or pun intended. That's the start menu that has been completely revamped and has returned. You know, it's a combination of elements of Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, the actual start menu itself, the start screen tiles from the Windows 8 versions of the operating systems. So you can see there it is a combination of the two. We have the option to pin programs. Pinned programs can be pinned to the start screen area, or they can be pinned to the start menu area. You have live tiles. Those tiles are called live tiles simply because they can have changing information. So photos, it could be a photo stream. Weather would be showing you current weather. You could have news headlines, apps, things like that, that would be showing you things that were current. And those are completely customizable. They can be resized. They can be moved around. We can create groups of those start screen tiles. You also have built-in search down at the bottom where it says Ask Me Anything. That's built right into the start menu. You can search literally anything. So we can search through Microsoft Edge's web browser, but you're also searching documents, email on the local machine, photos, videos, those things. And then, of course, access to all the default programs. You can click the All Apps, and you can see any programs that you have. And then the default programs like File Explorer, Settings, you know, the things that are other things that are built into Windows as well. So it is a one-stop shop, but we're used to this. Back in Windows 95, the start menu debuted, and everybody just kind of assumed that the start menu would always be there. And mysteriously in Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, it disappeared. And so, you know, people were up in arms, Microsoft listened, and we have the start menu back. So let's take a look now at the start menu. This is the Windows 10 desktop. We've got a few running applications here that are shown on the bottom, kind of highlighted. And then we've got the familiar Windows logo. When you left click on the Windows logo, you are getting the new start menu. Now I will say that just, you know, for our purposes here, our resolution is actually a lot lower than what somebody else would normally have. This doesn't usually take up that much of the screen. In an Insider, in one of the technical previews, you did have the ability to expand this, but you don't have that ability anymore, okay? So unless you're on a tablet, you're not gonna get this to go full screen. So what we have is our name and photo up here. So this is me and a little image that I've chosen for my profile picture. Then we've got most used applications. We've got recently added applications. This is, of course, all configurable for us. Okay. You've got the default applications, File Explorer. That's just the new name for Windows Explorer. So if you never used Windows 8, 8.1, you probably didn't encounter this, but it's just a different name. Okay. Same thing. I mean, there are some differences. We'll look at that in a little bit later, but it is essentially the same program. You have the Settings app. You have power options, sleep, shutdown, restart, and then we can click on all apps, and if we click on all apps, then we get an alphabetic list of applications that you have. So we can scroll down and just find whatever application it is that we want. And if we find an application, then we can unpin it from start. I mean, it's in the start menu, or you can drag it out. So if we want to pin to start, then we're pinning it up here, and we can, as I said, move those around a little bit. Okay, so that's one of the things. We could find some others. Let's go sports. So I pin to start or pin to taskbar. Pin to taskbar is going to put it down here. Pin to start is going to place it out here and then move it wherever I want. Now you notice it created a group, and so I can name the group. Let's call it My Stuff. Okay. Call this Games. And so if you have the need to move things around from group to group, you may do so. Okay, so we'll put all that there, put that over here. If you want to resize something, you can right click and resize it. The nice thing about that one is that if it was in its wide version, then I was actually able to get pictures and stuff. Okay, so you can change these group names by just by clicking the couple of horizontal lines and making changes. We can move and resize all of these. This is the mail icon, and so some of them might have that turn live tile off. The only reason that there aren't photos here is because I don't have any photos. Well, I guess I've got a couple photos, but it's not doing the slide show for me. But normally your Photos app will do that. There we go. Okay, we've got some other apps that I had added down here. Here's an Amazon one, and so if I sign in, then it'll get personal recommendations and whatnot. We won't worry about that. But it's fairly self-explanatory, all right? So this list has the most used and then recently added. You're actually not modifying this list. If you want something to be pinned, then you're pinning it out here in the tiles area. Okay, but you do have the ability to move everything completely around so that it's where you need it. Then we've got search web in the windows. So let me click on this, and if I click on this, notice my cursor is in that search box. And so with my cursor in that search box, I can search for anything that I want. So let's search for PowerPoint. And when I search for PowerPoint, it doesn't show up. It's not showing anything locally. It's probably because of the space. There we go. Okay, so if I go PowerPoint, then here's my app that I have installed. But here are a bunch of Google searches, and here's some other things, other areas. Here's a folder that I have that's called PowerPoints. So it categorizes the search results, whatever you happen to be searching for. So Netflix, and Netflix shows up in the store, or I can search the web. So if you just type something and hit enter, then it's just going to open up Edge, and it's going to do a web search for whatever it was that you were looking for. So you can just click on the start button. You can type in anything you want, like PowerShell, for instance, hit enter, and it'll open up that program if you have that program installed. Okay? So that is the start screen. Now the start menu experience, if you will, you still can pin items to the taskbar. When I have items pinned down to the taskbar and I right click, they'll have menus, recently accessed things. This is all brand new on this machine, so I don't have anything showing up. But with Edge, you'd have web pages. With PowerPoint, you would have PowerPoint presentations with Word, so on and so forth. And so, you can click and move these around. You're going to get a thumbnail as to what that is. So that's our slideshow. Here's our web page. Here's programs and features, part of control panel. So you'll get live thumbnails, and that is consistent with both Windows 7 and Windows 8 and 8.1, I guess. Those live thumbnails that show up on the taskbar. So your choice here is pin to the taskbar or pin to the start menu. But the start menu, we can see, has been completely redesigned. There are some additional changes in Windows 10 related to navigation and the user experience outside of the start menu. One is the snap feature has really been enhanced. I alluded to this earlier. We actually see a screenshot here where when I snap a window over to one side, then all of the other open items show up. And so I'm able to choose what's going to go in the second half of the screen. It seems minimal, but it saves you, a couple of seconds, and sometimes that can be very good from a productivity standpoint. We do have tablet mode. Tablet mode can be turned on, and it turns all the apps into a full screen type of application. We have a task view, which is a new icon down on the taskbar that I haven't hit yet. Task view gives you the ability to create multiple virtual desktops. So number one, it's just a way of seeing the open and running applications. But number two, it is the ability to add a desktop. Pinned items to the start menu, pinned items to the taskbar we'd mentioned. We also have an enhanced notifications area. Now, a lot of these things are just easier to see than talk about. So let's go take a look at some of these other changes. Okay, so we're back on our desktop. Let's look at a couple of things. First off, the task view. The task view is this icon right here. When you click on it, it's going to show me all of the things that I have running. Now, I don't have a whole lot running, so let's actually get some other things opened up. VLC Media Player. We'll open up our Weather Channel app. Okay, and so then when I hit the task view, you can see I've got more happening. And so it's just a quick way of clicking and opening or going to another location. I mean, of course, hit escape there. I always have Alt-Tab. You know, and that's fine. The Windows tab, let's get rid of that. If you go Windows and the Tab key, that's going to bring up that task view. That's a keyboard shortcut for that task view. Okay, and then notice down here on the right, I have the ability to create a new desktop. So you got desktop 1, you click the task view, and desktop 2, and desktop 2 doesn't have anything in it. Okay, desktop 2 can actually have different display settings. Desktop 2 can have a different background. And more importantly, Desktop 2 can have different web pages opened up. And actually, that looked like it jumped me back over there. Okay, so I can open up folders. I can open up documents here that are not open in the other virtual desktop, and they will be kept separate. I keep clicking on the one, and so here, I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so there's desktop 2, there's desktop 1. When I'm on desktop 1 and I go Alt-Tab, notice I do not see the File Explorer for desktop 2. Okay, so if you've got that, ability, and as I said, that just makes it so you can kind of keep things separated. Let's try to do our snap here. When I go and snap that over to the left, notice I get a menu that's basically asking me, what did you want to put on the right-hand side? So as opposed to moving both things, both windows, I can pick and choose, you know, as soon as I snap that. It opens up that menu. As I said, I mean, that's a couple seconds, but that does save you some time. On these Windows Store apps, you do have the ability to go full screen. This is the way that they were by default in Windows 8. You do not have to have them by default. By default now, they open up in a window that is resizable and that sits there right along with your other desktop applications. Okay? So that's the snap enhancements, the task view. We have a notifications area over here that's been simplified. Here's, you know, I don't have any new notifications. If you installed, you know, the app of Facebook, you'd get alerts. If you had email set up on a machine, you would have alerts for mail. So it's not just the Action Center as in Windows notifications, but it's other applications as well. This is also a quick way to get at some of the other things, like, for instance, tablet mode. Notice when I click on tablet mode, now we no longer have a taskbar, okay? We simply have navigation, the start screen, the search, and then your task view, okay? So you have the ability to jump back and forth, but it is different, and this is meant more for a touch screen device. And so all you have to do is click the action, click tablet mode again, and then you go back, and now I'm more in a PC mode, okay? And there are some other things here as well. Note, the quick opens up OneNote, which is built in here, and you can start using it, and it'll allow you to take notes. Again, more from a tablet perspective, although you could certainly use that on the PC. Okay, this is also a quick link into the Settings app. We'll get into the Settings app here in just a little bit, but that's the notifications area. It's been streamlined quite a bit. So tablet mode, the task view, new notifications area, the snap enhancements, all of those are additional enhancements to the Windows 10 user experience. Another fairly significant enhancement to Windows 10 is the introduction of a search assistant. The search assistant has a name, and its name is Cortana. This was the search assistant that debuted on the Windows phones, okay? And it's, of course, given a name, sort of artificial intelligence, like Siri for Macintosh or for Apple. So we've got this feature now in Windows 10, and it does seem to work, fairly well. It combines searches, both local and web searches, as we just kind of saw when we were looking at the Start menu. But it also understands spoken commands. So if you have got a microphone on your machine, or of course you would have a microphone if you had a phone or a tablet, then you can do speech-to-text searches. It has the intelligence to convert commands into tasks and appointments. Again, some of this to actually demo it, you'd have to be able to speak to the thing, but if you said something like, set me up an appointment for next Saturday at 2 p.m., then what you would have Cortana do for you is open up the calendar app. I've tested it many times, and that does work just fine. Or, something like, find me someplace to eat Thai food. You make a statement like that, and Cortana goes out and immediately does a web search for that information. So, as I said, it's carryover from Windows Phone. It's consistently getting better and better and better, and this goes back to that whole updates model. There will be updates to this, and I'm very confident that Cortana will continue to be very, very helpful. Will you use it a lot on a PC? I don't know. I don't. It's more of a novelty for me than anything else, but maybe it's just getting used to it. But definitely, if I had a phone with Windows 10, if I had a tablet with Windows 10, I can see it being very, very useful there. So we've already really seen Cortana, but I just want to take a look here. It is just this search the web in Windows. Hi, I'm Cortana. Would you like a personal assistant? I'm here to help. And then it kind of walks through what can it do. It can remind you to do something in a particular place and time. You can use your voice to give me tasks, to dictate messages, or to chat. I'll help you find stuff on your device on OneDrive. You can keep you posted on the statuses of packages and flights and those things. Those things would go over here, okay? And so this is just some of the initial information. You introduce yourself to Cortana. What would you like me to call you? And so then when you come in here, it'll say, welcome Patrick or whatnot, okay? So we've got a couple of things, and who knows what that is, that there's some sort of connection that it's already found via my Microsoft account. It's probably somebody's birthday, is what it looks like. And it gives me some of the information of things that I can say. Now again, if I have a microphone, I can click on the microphone, all right? But if I don't have a microphone, in this case, I don't have it set up, then I'm just simply going to have to type, okay? And we already looked at some of the things that it could do from a search perspective. For instance, if I search for PowerPoint or whatnot, it identifies where things are, does local searches and web searches. And so we can go in and we can take a look. Another part, or you can go in and you can speak commands, but that works a little bit better than the search. The notebook here. You can start to kind of identify what you want Cortana to be doing for you. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time here just because this really is very cosmetic. This is a great part of Windows 10, but it's really more from a personal, not a business perspective. So, but you're going in and you're saying to Cortana, I do want meetings and reminder cards. I want you to tell me about a meeting that's coming up. I want you to, inform me of these things. For eat and drink, I want those cards that are related to that. I want restaurant recommendations. You can add different cuisines and price ranges. So you're telling it about yourself. You're telling it how far you want to go. You're telling it or her or him or whoever it is, Cortana, that the things that you like. And so that it kind of conforms then to your own interest and gives you some insights, okay? Reminders, we can add a reminder just by clicking on the plus sign. This is what I want to remember to do. But I can speak some of those things as opposed to typing them in. All right, so probably a lot more could be said about this, but then again, I don't know that it necessarily has to be. It's a search, but it's very much an enhanced search and a search designed to be able to be used via speech input. But the final feature that we want to take a look at is the Settings app. Now, the Settings app debuted in Windows 8, and it was enhanced in Windows 8.1, but it's received even further enhancements in Windows 10. Settings app is accessible from the Start menu, and it's the primary location that you're going to go for basic settings. So I believe I said before, it has largely replaced Control Panel, at least for the novice or intermediate user. Control Panel still exists. IT individuals like yourself are probably going to utilize Control Panel and the administrative tools. You know, they're behind the scenes, but they're still there. And but for your novice, your intermediate user, Settings is going to be the place to go. Settings is divided into different sections: system, devices, network and internet, personalization, accounts, update and security, and a few others like ease of access, regional time settings, things like that. Okay, and we'll go through and see. We're just going to walk through and look at all the options. Realize that due to the incremental update nature of Windows 10, these options might be different 2 months from now. I wouldn't expect things to be removed necessarily, albeit that they could, but I would expect some additions to be made. Okay, the other thing to think about as we're going through is that what you see on a laptop and what I see on this desktop may be two different things. Okay? The one, for instance, that comes to mind is the Wi-Fi. My Settings app on my laptop, I have a Wi-Fi section in the network and internet category. On a PC that doesn't have a wireless network card, I don't have a Wi-Fi section. You know, and so it does change based on what you've got. We'll go into the accounts area. That's user accounts, and I'm not going to have anything related to Windows Hello because I don't have any biometrics devices. I don't have a webcam for facial recognition. I don't have the necessary components to be able to use that feature, and so it is just hidden. So just keep that in mind if you're ever looking for something and it's not there. It's likely that it requires some piece of hardware.